What did a crush do to make you lose interest immediately? She was going to a party and I said you seem pretty unenthusiastic about going. She replied with don't use big words. Not really a crush, but a few weeks ago, I was at the dog park and a guy came up to flirt with me. I was mildly interested until he started telling this bizarre story about how he used to have a rabbit but got tired of it and threw it out into the backyard for his Rottweiler. Then he kept looking at me expectantly, as if I were supposed to join in with my own story of murdering a house pet. I just stood there blinking stupidly until he said, "So, you wanna ditch your dog and go see a movie with me?" "Nah, I'm good." Started to like me back. Ew. My freshman year of college, I had a huge crush on a guy in my intro programming class. We sat beside each other, and while I could complete the exercises easily, he was visibly struggling. So I offered to tutor him after hours. He got upset that a girl was better at computer stuff than him and dropped the class. Introduced me to her son. She and I were both 14 and her son was about a year old at the time. We were making out and he burped into my mouth. She was a lesbian and I am a guy, so I couldn't be a lesbian. I had a crush on this guy for so long. He had a beard check, loved coffee and beer check, and could make me laugh mega check. He moved out of the state for a short while for work, but when he came back, I met him at a bar for his returning home party. Everything was going fine for the majority of the night. Lots of flirting on his end, but he kept drinking and drinking and drinking some more. He ended up getting shit-faced and one of his friends asked me if I could give him a lift home. I said sure, why not? Here's where the problem started. Homeboy wouldn't tell me where he lived. For one, in his defense, he may have just been super drunk and incoherent, but it was still frustrating. I was house-sitting for my grandmother at the time, so I told him he was welcome to crash in her guest bedroom and I'd give him a ride home the next morning. We get back to my grandmother's house, I pull into the garage, and without skipping a beat, my crush opens the door and just vomits all over the garage floor. Better than the kitchen floor, but it was spreading and by the time he was all done, it had reached the walls. So I took him inside and gave him a glass of water and showed him where the bathroom was. By this time, it was at least 3 a.m., so I was exhausted. I passed out in my grandmother's bedroom to the sound of my crush. He was slowly losing the title spewing. Fast forward to 6 a.m. I wake up to my crush standing right next to the bed staring at me, asking where he was. I explained and took him down to the guest bedroom. He had been sleeping on the bathroom floor. When I went back upstairs to turn the light off in the bathroom, the smell hit me sick. The dude left a giant pile of unflushed shit mixed in with vomit. I gagged, flushed it, and went back to bed. After I realized I had lost all attraction to this guy, I gave him a ride home. Didn't get an apology, but I did get a drool-filled, awkward kiss that I did not want. Then I came back and spent 2 hours cleaning up vomit. It was Christmas Eve. To the end. Kicked my cat and said I hate cats. Well, get the fuck out of my house then. Was on a picnic. He caught a fly with his hand. I must have looked impressed, so he followed it by throwing a shoe and hitting a nearby seagull. Weirdest fucking way to try to woo a girl. Edit. More details were requested. It did indeed require him taking off his shoe first. The seagull was not in flight but sitting and minding its own business when the shoe missile was thrown. However, it was hit as it attempted to fly away. I would describe his attitude following as smugly nonchalant. Girl told me she only finds black guys and Asians attractive. A lot of people mistaken me for being Asian. I'm Mexican. When I was in the 3rd grade, I had a huge crush on this guy named Robert. We went to Scotland for a school field trip, and I asked if I could buy him a soda. He said no. I was hurt, as any 8-year-old girl would be. But a half hour later, I saw he had bought this girl Ali a soda. I'm pretty sure I ran into the bathroom and cried. Anyways, I found my elementary school diary a few months ago and saw an entry I wrote from this night. All it said was Robert loves Ali. He doesn't love me. I'm heartbroken. Edit. The Scotland I'm talking about is in Omaha, Nebraska, for those who are asking. Also, I hadn't thought about this guy in years and I looked him up on Facebook and he's gross now. Looks like I dodged a bullet. Got asked out by a cute guy wearing a leather motorcycle jacket, probably mid-20s. While I was waitressing, he was taking his dad out to lunch at the time. I thought, oh how nice, tough and sensitive. He picked me up for coffee, showed up with a Hannah Montana t-shirt, spent the first 20 minutes talking about how he was homeschooled and loved that he still lived with his parents. and how hanging out with his mom was better than going to college. Damn, did I read that vibe wrong. Played games. Games as in acting hot cold. Instant turn off. In the 6th grade I tied our shoelaces together to be cute and to have an excuse to be close to her. Eventually when she had to leave, we discovered I tied the knot too tight and she ended up chewing through one of the laces to get out. She looked so stupid doing it that I just stopped liking her. Edit. Change the to she edit too. Lol, I don't even know why I'm trying to defend my 6th grade idea romantic behavior. You guys are right, it was a weird thing to do. I've told this story before, but he knocked out his teeth, said he's the Antichrist and asked me to join his harem. I wish I were making that up. It wasn't our first date, but our first date at a restaurant. He was intolerably rude to the waiter. The waiter never even did anything wrong. He was just treating the poor guy like a worthless slave. Left date at restaurant and never called him again. He got his hair cut kinda short and I discovered a huge, fleshy, hairy, pink mole. It was so gross. I was like 16 and I avoided him until his hair grew back. We're married now. She hung up on me. I was 14 and had pined after her for about 8 months. I had joined the choir to get close to her. I had started playing the motherfucking violin so that I could be in music classes with her. I was in love with her, and she knew it. Okay, so I made it kind of obvious, but I was trying to work up the courage to ask her out. We were friends, and in the same social group. Unfortunately, it had become a bit of a standing joke. Has Danner asked her out yet? But the week before the school dance I finally grew a pair. I call her up and the call goes like this: Hi Kate, it's Danner. Oh hey, you know the dance coming up next week at school? Yeah, well I was wondering, are you going? Yeah, I think so. Would you like to go with me? Click. She hung up on me and it broke me down. It took me a week to EV and be able to speak to her again, and took me years to ask another girl out. On the upside, at our 10-year school reunion she actually apologized for handling it so badly. I told her that I'd forgive her if she danced with me, and she did. TL. Doctor finally got the dance with the girl who broke my 14-year-old heart. We were at dinner one night. The conversation wasn't flowing particularly smoothly. The bill came and I reached for it. He thanked me and said he'd get it next time, that he had left his wallet at home. When we hugged, his wallet fell out of his coat. I saw at least a $50 bill in there. He turned beet red, quickly got into his car and sped off. This really happened. Edit. Since you asked, he was the one to ask me to dinner. It was the first date. No, I'm not being sexist. I don't mind paying. In fact, I like to treat a man. And when I say quickly got into his car, I mean bolted. Edit 2. I didn't lose interest because I had to pay. I lost interest because he literally dashed into his car and sped off after it happened. If only you guys could have seen it. It's really unattractive for men to ever show emotion. Sorry, but I'm not a robot. He made fun of the way a deaf kid sounded when he was speaking. As someone whose siblings and my mom are hearing impaired, I just couldn't get over it. Edit. Fixed some of the grammar mistakes that various people have pointed out to me. Showed up rolling on Molly to our first official date. It was a Tuesday. She made fun of the mentally handicapped. He said he didn't like girls with big boobs. I have big boobs. I figured that was a sign he wasn't interested. Pretended to date another guy just to see if I would get jealous. Then got angry when I wasn't. Edit my story since people have added theirs. Started hanging out with this girl towards the end of a spring semester in college. We fooled around a little but didn't get into anything serious. We kept talking over the summer and she started telling me about this guy she met at work. Got pretty specific even. I basically supported the relationship into myself until she broke down and told me she was making it all up to see if I would get jealous. Yelled at me for a bit. I said bye, and only saw her once after that to get back something I let her borrow. Surprised she kept it. Definitely dodged one. It would have been a city relationship if I met her earlier. Use come instead of come in a casual conversation. Edit. In text conversation. Started to tell me about how I shouldn't be depressed because she had real problems, then proceeded to tell me about all the guys she did it with. Was hitting it off with this girl who had transferred to my school as a sophomore, was majoring in human biology. Got to talking about how she was liking it. I don't find a bunch of the stuff that we're doing right now very relevant, because I don't believe in evolution. No. Had been talking for about an hour. Made my excuse and left in the next 5 minutes. Went out to dinner with friends and she was a bitch to the staff. Didn't even chip in on the tip because they don't work hard enough for my money. We were discussing politics that NR wasn't even born in America. And with that, I bid you a fair adieu. It started way back in 3rd grade. I used to sit beside Emily Lou Hayes. A pink dress, a matching bow, and her ponytail. She kissed me on the school bus, but told me not to tell. Yeah, got rid of her. How can one expect me not to brag? Be gone, replied most texts with all that's cool or some other combination of words that added nothing to the conversation. And I had common friends with her, so I knew she was interested. I was being silly by asking random questions such as, "What is your favorite color?" He responded with a complete straight face and said pink, like vaginas. That was it for me.